Crime against women. Introduction. Fine, now just let me know how many of you own vehicle and how many of you commute by bus, train and so on in your routine life. Indeed, around 70% of the general population use public transportation in their day-to-day life. Can you spell from your knowledge who finds this commutation happy or sorrow or convenient, or what makes them go for public transportation? You are right. The travel by the public transport such as train or bus to a large extent is most comfortable and joyful only to pickpocketers and indecent lot. If we call upon the sufferer group, they are none but pathetically females. This is just an example. Truly speaking, these women, whether they are indoors or outdoors, irrespective of the stage or the status, female babies, girls, students, homemakers, office goers, and in fact everyone is being harassed and tortured. Yeah, today we are going to talk about the injustice done to women. That is, crime against women. Types of violence against women. Could you list the various types of violence inflicted upon the women and the pressure and the pain the women's sect in the society undergo? Yes. From time to time, the women in the society, irrespective of any background, have been becoming an object to male domination. It is being enhanced age after age. Its vibrations are sensed everywhere, at workplace, on the way, at home, and where not. To spell a few, crimes involving sex for economic gains including prostitution, keeping off brothel seduction, wrongful confinement, trafficking, dowry extortion, murder, crimes relating to women's property which includes dishonest misappropriation, robbery and murder, outraging the modes of women, use of criminal force assault, kidnapping, abduction, rape, adultery, other immoral acts injurious to the society, domestic and intimate partner violence, violence against women with disabilities, emotional abuse, same-sex relationship violence, violence against women at workplace, dating violence, sexual assault and abuse, aggravation, violence against asylum seeker and refugee women, and the list goes on but never ends. Formerly, women were adored as goddesses. Gradually, their position declined. Historically, religious and social obligations made them practical slaves to menfolk. Centuries of abuse and oppression resulted in the total loss of their uniqueness and individuality. Today, the greatest numbers of crimes are committed against them. They are harassed, tortured, and ill-treated. The temptation to make easy money has led people to outrageous demands for dowry. Brides are harassed and burned alive if they do not bring a handsome dowry. Many girls commit suicide to save their parents from embarrassment. Some decide to remain unmarried. Some end up as call girls and prostitutes. The prejudice against the girl child is the result of all these factors. Today, it is possible to find out the sex of unborn child. This has shown way to the hateful practice of female feticide. Eve teasing is common, for women are regarded to be the objects of sex. Abduction and rape are everyday happenings. Even little girls are not spared. Working women are manipulated all over. Women are criminally battered in police lockups and even so-called protective homes. Rather posed only unimaginable threat for them. Paradoxically, they endure the substance of hostility and resentment. The remedy lies in women's education and economic independence. Stringent laws with no loopholes must be made to protect the interests of women. Above all, the moral atmosphere of the society must undergo a complete transformation. Large populations become not only displaced but weakened. Around the world, the places that are the most dangerous for women also pose the greatest threats to international peace and security. The connection is obvious. Where women are subjugated, governance is weak, and terrorists are more likely to take grip. As the Secretary has remarked, vibrant civil societies cannot be desired if half the population is left behind. Women's participation is a condition for good governance, for rule of law, and for economic prosperity. And gender-based violence, an ever-present threat of violence, prevents women's participation in these sectors of society. Day in and day out, don't we find women being attacked by strangers, hurt by people even close to them? They may be husbands or partners, but pain is the same. The after effect of brutality and abuse is most terrible whether a woman is attacked by a stranger or mistreated by a partner. An offense, physical assault or mental attack creates the same havoc. Foundations and the people responsible for crime. Okay, let me confirm this with you. As educated adults, don't we know that we turn back the pages of the past? We find the women in India being respected and well regarded. We also find the Constitution of India granting equality to women and also authorizing the state to implement measures of positive discrimination in favor of women to counterbalance the swelling socio-economic, educational and political shortcomings faced by women. Article 15 forbidding discrimination on grounds of caste, religion, sex, race and place of birth. In Article 16 ensuring equal openings of employment. In spite of all these precautions and safety measures being adapted and adopted, the women in our country continue to suffer. Today's scenario displays illiterate women folk, ignorant females lacking the knowledge of their rights, domineering practices and customs and so on. Could you guess the reasons and the people behind this tragedy? Yeah, 3 categories of people are solely responsible for it. First one is the offender or law breaker. The second is the police. And last one is the criminal courts. To begin with, it may be said that the reformative sentences in relation to crimes against women in particular are responsible for the increasing violence against women. Here, in addition to it, there is also a view that our social system is in itself designed to promote inequality and hence exploitation of women is inbuilt in it. Then, coming to the question of the offenders committing crimes against women, they are not consistent or hard-bitten criminals and engage in crime due to inclination or pressing urge. At this point, we discover some women folk themselves being the lawbreakers. Ultimately, both prove to be the prime factor for sexual crimes. Next, the role of police in investigating crimes against women and the law courts play a vital role. As a large number of cases are filed in the law courts, it results in freeing of many without trial. In some cases, the trial period consumes so much time that the criminal continues to enjoy and complaint suitors even end up their lives. Now, again coming to the law, There are many bright ideas brought in black and white. However, they still remain in the papers. Let me quickly give a list of few promotion action plans. 25th April 2008. Reception hostel to be set up in each district as transit accommodation for women in distress. 5th February 2009. Women constable to be deployed in slums and areas near lacking civic amenities. They should interact with women and identify habitual, potential harassers, molesters to take preventive action. 28th May 2009. Action be taken against stalkers of women, like making them sign a bond pledging good behavior. 11th June 2009. Patrolling by women constable officers in slum and other congested areas should be intensified. 22nd October 2009. Telepolice Commissioner should write to Transport Commissioner advising that antecedents of all drivers of public service vehicles must be verified by police. Drivers should also carry biometric photo ID. 22nd December 2010. Constable should be posted at bus stops to instill a sense of security in women commuters. 28th October 2011. All DTC bus stops in DU's North and South campuses should be covered by police. Emotional collisions, physical consequences and societal crash, global cost and corollary. True, you sympathize the flight of women. Aren't you anxious to learn their influences on self and society? Now, let me describe you some of the direct and indirect impacts of violence against women. Not only do victims suffer emotional and physical harm, but their feelings of safety and perceptions of well-being are often affected by their victimization experiences. A large part of women who experienced violence became upset and confused. They experienced meaningless fear and frustration and most of the time were found in depression. They were abnormally angry and annoyed. They suffered from guilt and feared to look at even children. They possessed low self-esteem and spent sleepless nights. Violently victimized women, both those victimized by a spouse or another perpetrator, were less likely to positively rate their mental health, more likely to experience elevated levels of stress, and more likely to use medication for depression, anxiety, or sleep problems. Besides throwing the bad consequences on the individuals and the families, it adds its shortcomings on the society too. Family and friends are also indirectly or directly charged by the violence. In addition, larger societal costs caused on account of violence against women are also borne providing and maintaining social supports and criminal justice services. Broadly speaking, the use of these services is higher in violence incidents. It has been said that the economic costs linked with providing these services as well as financial implications of violence to victims and their families is considerably large. The statistics says that women in India add up to nearly half of its population, and the bitter truth is that most of them are being grounded under the social, cultural and religious structures. Without doubt, a single gender has been tricking the space of the India's social, economic, political and religious framework since the bygone days. Women throughout the countries remain conquered and exploited owing to the blind belief of the society, to the established convictions, The fact here is only to have women under the control of men. One can see the force of violence upon them in every aspect, domestic as well as public, physical, emotional, and mental. Now and again, it is even before birth, from time to time in the adulthood, and every now and then in life. Violence against women constitutes a violation of the human rights and fundamental freedom of women. Now I guess your fears and doubts. You ask, where is the world marching to? Obviously, when women are harassed as part of a purposeful and synchronized tactic, the huge populations not only get out of place but also weakened. Right through the world, the places that are the most dangerous for women also cause the greatest threats to international peace and security. The association is clear. Where women are oppressed, governance is weak, and terrorists are more likely to take hold. You cannot have lively and energetic civil societies. Women's participation is a precondition for high quality governance, for rule of law, and for trade and industry prosperity, and gender based violence and pervasive threat of violence prevents women's participation in these sectors of society. The violence against women and girls that we are currently seeing is a global deadly disease. It cuts across ethnicity, race, class, religion, education level, and international borders. It affects girls and women at every stage in their life. Approach towards safety of women. A society that is unable to respect, protect, and nurture its women and children loses its moral moorings and runs adrift. This opinion is from The Hindu, September 15, 2012. Sexual violence is the worst cruelty against women in the entire society. Various recommendations pertaining to the prevention of crimes against women must exist alive. Special courts to deal with cases of crimes against women must be established. Next, fixing up a time limit for the disposal of these cases is most inevitable. Attempts to prevent delay in investigation of crimes like rape, dowry, death, sexual harassment, etc. should be seriously viewed. Justice delayed is justice denied. Hence, delayed justice is to be completely outthrown. Capital punishment is to be conferred upon persons committing the offense of rape. Marital rape should be recognized and reported and penalized severely. The demand of dowry should be viewed for obtaining divorce. Basic literacy must be made must to keep the women folk aware of their rights. Law relating to the sexual harassment of women at workplace must be enacted, and redressal grievance cells should be established in all establishments, be it private or public sector. The constitution of these cells has to be re-evaluated frequently. The women in the whole society have to be glanced with respect and dignity. It is also indispensable that the media, inclusive of news, radio, and television, should bestow programs to give information, bring about awareness among women and the society of women's rights. The organizations should focus towards women's education and development all around. Negatively affecting news must be censored or banned as against public interest. Most of all, definite programs to boost up women and make them economically independent should be imposed. Legal remedies. Various legislations for safeguarding the women. Do you wonder if there is no remedy at all to it? Thank the Lord, we do have a remedy. There are various legislations for safeguarding the women. To begin with, the crimes under IPC and SLL, Indian Penal Code and Special Laws, various legislations have been integrated regarding the protection of women. It is classified under two categories. The IPC, the crime under Indian Penal Code, and the SLL, the crime under the special and local laws. The first category takes in cases such as rape, Section 376 IPC, kidnapping and abduction for specified purpose, Section 363, 373 IPC, homicide for dowry, dowry death or their attempts, Section 302/304 BIPC, torture both mental and physical, Section 498A IPC, sexual harassment, Section 509 IPC, importation of girls up to 21 years of age, Section 366B IPC, and the second category deals with the problems such as Immortal Traffic Prevention Act 1956, Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, Indecent Representation of Women Prohibition Act 1986, Commission of Sati Prevention Act 1987, Approach towards Safety of Women and Self-Perceived Safety, Health and Well-being. Not to forget the measures taken towards safety of women and the laws such as Commission of Sati Prevention Act 1987, Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, Indecent Representation of Women Prohibition Act 1986, National Commission for Women Act 1990, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956, Protection of Women Against Sexual Harassment at Workplace Bill 2010, Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006, Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955, Protection of Human Rights Act 1993, Protection of Human Rights Amendment Act 2000, Protection of Women's Rights Amendment Act 2006, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971, Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques, Regulation and Prevention of Misuse Act 1994, Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques, Regulation and Prevention of Misuse Amendment Act 2001, Information Technology Act 2000, Indian Penal Code 1872, Criminal Procedure Code 1973, Indian Evidence Act 1872, Criminal Law Amendments, Sexual assault and other crimes have been implemented. There are women's rights activists and there are also law against violence. However, they exist lifeless, as the cry for the end of the crime against women and equality is a common phenomenon throughout the world. And united effort is inevitable. Human rights activists should stay true to achieve the objective. In the first place, the organization leaders should be appointed at every village, town, city, and in fact, wherever women reside. A gathering at least once a week is essential. The issues of basic literacy, education on law, support, comfort, and security must be discussed. Male members, relatives, or friends, whoever is really interested in the welfare of the women, might be encouraged for assistance. Friendly and healthy connections among organizations of states and countries must be established. Education is the only instrument with which we can bring in changes in the deep-rooted attitudes. The following incident stands testimony. When Mukhtar Mai was gang raped in Pakistan in 2002, on the orders of the tribal council in her rural Pakistani village, her village expected her to commit suicide. But Mukhtar Mai was not an ordinary victim. Instead, this illiterate, brutalized, and shunned woman found the strength to take her case to court. She used the money from her small settlement to build 2 schools, one for boys and one for girls, in which she enrolled herself. She said nothing in her village would ever change without education. In so many of these cases, especially when security forces themselves are involved, no serious legal action is taken against these criminals. The pathetic tragedies announcing women's vulnerability and helplessness symbolize a humanitarian tragedy. The mistreatment not only destroys the lives of individual girls and women, families, and communities, but also deprives the world of the aptitude it needs at once. There is a commanding connection between violence against women and the unending cycle of women in poverty. Abused women or victimized women fall short in estimating their own capacity, and this results in the losing of the invaluable efforts and contributions due to the nation. There are enormous economic costs that come with violence against women. Hence, let us play an important role in the wiping out of this evil from the society. Thank you.